Thank you for the goodness of your practice. So our topic of reflection today is the teaching of impermanence. This teaching invites us to come back to this moment. This present moment. It is in being with this moment that we can know directly the freeing power of this teaching of impermanence. Why does it matter? We can ask ourselves to know change, to be with change, recognize it, embrace it. Why? We can ask ourselves this question. 2 days ago, a friend of mine who is visiting her aging parents just now in Durban, she sends me a text to say how it is, and so it's been almost a year of my friend and her brother trying to convince and move the parents to Johannesburg so that they are closer and can then receive ongoing support from them. Big change for the parents. They've been resisting it for almost a year. And I just love then to hear from her some stories around this, what they are saying about it. So I ask her, how are they doing? And she responds, oh, they are like children. They're almost 90 years old. And, but I'm okay when I'm in the present moment with them. I thought, wow, that's really interesting that you can notice that if you are fully present in the moment with them, it's okay, whatever is happening. So why the story? The story reminds us about why we come to practice, why we come to this path of Buddhism. It is to be okay. At least it's that for me. I don't know, what is it for you? It's to be okay no matter what, including changes that are difficult to accept. Just like this one of aging parents. Something in us wants our parents to just always be who they were, right? But the roles get reversed. Parents become children. Children have to step into the role of parenting. Mm. Well, it's not only our parents who age. Guess who also ages? The children. I look myself in the mirror and I'm like, wow, this reality is here of aging. And in those moments, I'm really grateful for these teachings of the Buddha because they become a refuge when there are difficulties to accept this reality of change. I mean, most of us, or all of us actually, cognitively, we know about change, right? You don't have to be a Buddhist to know about change. If you ask anyone, do things change? I think everybody is going to say, of course, things change. And then if you say, does everything change? Hmm? I don't know if everybody would say yes. But of course, if you have access to these teachings and practice and you have tasted for yourself the freedom that comes with being with this constant flux in our experience, you'd say, yes, everything changes. If we think about our conditioning is strong on the view that things are permanent. It feels like an instinct actually that we perceive things as permanent. And of course, this becomes obvious with the pain of resisting change. Mhm. With this practice of mindfulness, when we're able to pause and meet with our experience in the moment, we can see how it's instinctual to grasp and cling to what is pleasant, push away that which is unpleasant, and completely ignore the neutral. And of course, that becomes the source of our suffering. The Buddha is very clear on the question of freedom, the freeing of the heart, that it is freedom by unclinging, not holding on to anything. So this is the teaching as we continue to reflect on it and practice, that we can experience the freedom we seek. So in March this year, I was teaching at the McGarry with a friend, Dave from Canada. So it was quite cold in Underberg, actually, because the weather there is quite unpredictable. Because we're only in winter now, and this was March, and it was quite cold. So we're seated around the fire in the meditation hall, and we're having a conversation on this teaching of impermanence. So Dave tries to then demonstrate how this works. he picks up a candle, quite a thick candle, and places it at the edge of a basket that is containing the wood we're using to keep the fire going. And he says, change is before he was pointing me to the perception of solidity of this candle. But before, it was interesting, he finished his sentence, the candle disappeared. And we're like, oh, wow. Do you need to say more? What had happened? The candle just, fell into the basket. It wasn't there. And we were just laughing about that. That, yes, it's like this view that's can be a source of so much suffering, that things are permanent and yet things can change like this. Mm-hmm. Another story on this teaching of impermanence. Ajahn Chah was teaching here in November and December. Maybe some of you have sat with him. And we had time at the end of the retreat to just chill with him. He's like this, grandfather. We're at his feet. We're just asking questions. And he's responding to these questions. And one of the questions I asked him was, Lumpo, I don't get this thing from Ajahn Chah on this teaching of change when he says, see, the cup is already broken. I don't quite fully get it. Somehow I do, in the sense that I know someday, this cup will break. Therefore, if I know that, I won't suffer around it. But this teaching must be far much more deeper than that. What is it I'm not getting about it? It was so interesting because Ajahn Chah quickly picked up a cup next to him that was empty. He just turned it around, turned it upside down. And then he says, is it still a cup? And then something just landed right there for me. He was pointing me to perception. Mm-hmm. Perception recognizes and labels things as if they are permanent and fixed. So I just, from that experience, continued to work with this teaching. Suzuki Roshi, the Zen master who founded San Francisco Zen Center, speaks about this truth of impermanence when he talks about the beginner's mind. The not knowing mind. The truth of impermanence is the truth that we don't know what's going to happen next. I can't even know what I'm going to say next. Especially if I'm in the present moment, I'm right at the tip of the moment. I can't know what's going to happen next. I can't even know what's going to arise in this body-mind next. So this teaching of impermanence is an invitation for us to come to this place of insecurity, of not knowing, be with this flux, the flux of change in our experience. Alan Watts speaks of the wisdom of insecurity. He's talking about the wisdom of not knowing. As we embrace this teaching, we can come to be with life as life is. That things, all things, appear and disappear. We mostly live, I know for myself, in a place of a false sense of security. And this false sense of security is the very thing that can be a barrier to meeting with life from a sense of possibility, a sense of wonder, of curiosity, which can actually release us from the fear of change. We meet with life with our plans, expect life to go in accordance with those plans. We meet with life with expectations, with agendas. And of course, from that we suffer. We suffer for not having capacity to be with the way things are. Kitisaru was part of a few friends who maybe 4 months ago online held a memorial service for a friend's adult son who had been murdered. And Kitisaru's message to us was honor impermanence. I mean, this felt like a shocking message in these circumstances. And just before him speaking to help us to deal with this pain and shock, people were talking about how it's unacceptable that this beloved child would go like this. I continued to contemplate these words from Kitisaru, encouraging us to honor impermanence. And in continuing to do so, I come to a place of accepting that in any circumstance, the wisdom is to accept, embrace change. A poem I find very impactful, like Kitasaro's words of encouraging us to honor impermanence in any circumstance of change, is a poem by Jennifer Walwood titled The Dakini Speaks. So I'll read it to you. And I do want to warn you to expect to be impacted by its fierceness in telling the truth about change. So it goes, my friends, let's grow up. Let's stop pretending we don't know the deal here. Or if we truly haven't noticed, let's wake up and notice. Look, everything that can be lost will be lost. It's simple. How could we have missed it for so long? Let's grieve our losses fully, like a ripe human being. But please, let's not be so shocked by them. Let's not act so betrayed as though life had broken her secret promise to us. Impermanence is life's only promise to us, and she keeps it with ruthless impeccability. To a child, she seems cruel, but she's only wild, and her compassion exquisitely precise, brilliantly penetrating, luminous with truth. She strips away the unreal to show us the real. This is the true ride. Let's give ourselves to it. Let's stop making deals for a safe passage. There isn't one anyway. The cost is too high. We're not children anymore. The true adult gives everything for what cannot be lost. Let's dance the wild dance of no hope. I don't want to end it on a softer note, this offering. A peer a long time ago used to talk about learning to dance on a moving carpet. Then I didn't know that she was pointing me towards embracing change, that is possible to come to this place of wonder, curiosity, and maybe some fun in meeting with this reality in our lives of change. So that would be my invitation to use the practice of mindfulness to come close to understanding these deeper truths of life that can actually be a doorway to freedom and binding the heart. Thank you so much for listening. I'll hand over to you, Sumedha, and then we will go ahead and after some announcements with the discussion.